Hi, I'm Lenora.
I'm Kristen. Hello.
I'm Isabel. Hola.
Hi, I'm Kristen Tetzi, author of The Age of the Child. And after an overturn of Roe v. Wade, pro-life politicians find babies abandoned on their doorsteps, and that's just the beginning. It's a really good book, if I do say so myself. And since this came out before Roe v. Wade was actually overturned, I might be a modern-day Nostradamus.
Hi, I'm Isabel, founder and firebrand of the Uprising Spark. I love to create virtual and in real life activities to connect the international child-free community, including organizing trips that gather child-free women all over the world in beautiful destinations. I'm the child-free friend you always wanted, but never knew you needed. I'm also a co-founder of Nunca Madres, child-free in Spanish.
Hi, I'm Lenora Fay. I'm a child-free lifestyle advocate, speaker, and moderator. I'm co-founder of Childfree Media, which is a network leading the conversation for those interested in the child-free lifestyle. Childfree Media was the proud presenter of the 2022 virtual Child-Free Convention, which you can now watch on YouTube. And we are the three founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls. And our topic for this episode is, all right, where are all the child-free men? And I was thinking about this in preparation. And okay, we know Cody. So Cody does the Childfree Convention with me. You got Jared from Facebook. I know Dr. J and Matt run this Child-Free Life and Money podcast, but like that feels like it's it. I mean, can you think of any other like child-free guys out there?
There used to be a few. There were some YouTube channels that kind of went dormant after a period of time. I don't know what happened to them, but it'd be nice to know if they would come back and be more active, or hopefully some new voices out there will come alive. That TikTok is becoming its own animal. Instagram is always gaining more traction. So maybe some guys will become more vocal in the future.
Hey, maybe we could do a dance off between Cody and Dr. J on TikTok. I mean, that would be kind of interesting.
It'd probably be a terrible idea. But anyway, just a quick point of clarification. When we talk about child-free men or women in this episode, we're going to be referencing cisgender. So with that out of the way.
That's a good clarifying point. I think you're both right in saying that there are some child-free men out there, but it seems that you kind of have a vocal few, but there's not, as opposed to the child-free women, there's a lot more of varying degrees of how involved they are in the discussion, but there aren't that many men. And do you have any hypotheses as to why there aren't that many men involved or as vocal?
I have stats. So I looked at our YouTube viewers, 86.3% are female. And Dr. J just put out a survey the other day, and his survey found 85.95% were female. So like, it's not even like just like social media. Like the people watching this, I mean, maybe it's because it's Child-Free Girls, but I mean, like, I don't know.
Well, an interesting topic in the Child-Free guys from the Child-Free Convention. Nora, great job with you and Cody. It was a fantastic event. Anyway, in the Child-Free guys portion, it was actually brought up when a little bit of talk about antinatalism came into it. And the antinatalism realm, and I don't want to dive too much into it, is heavily male oriented. And that just seems like an interesting skew that the child-free side seems to be almost similar demographics of 80% women versus the antinatalism world of 80% men that are vocal and active.
So men just tend to be more extreme on that side of or maybe more towards the poles.
It's possible. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. If someone wants to dive into it even further, it would make a great actual article worth reading versus the usual clickbait we get for child-free topics.
I asked Katie Seppi, who does Chasing Creation, the Childless Convention, and hers is almost all women. I mean, like she worked out of her way to get a couple speakers that were male, and I mean, very few. I don't know. Is it just a different world, or like, do guys not really care about being child-free?
I think it almost seems like they're agnostic towards it. I mean, there's 99.9% of the responsibility of having kids really is kind of placed on women, as we hear the things that dads often hear as parents with, oh, you're babysitting today or something like that. There's this implied just idea that men aren't responsible for being a parent. So anything that they do as a parent is gravy on top. And so maybe men also kind of feel that they're a bit agnostic towards if I do become a dad or not, I don't really particularly care one way or the other. The burden's not on me in that instance.
Well, and a lot of times in society, men aren't challenged. So if it's two men and one of them happens to be a father and he asks the other individual if they have kids and the other person says, no, I'm child free, what it sounds like is most times they almost get like a wink, and it's like, good for you, fist bump, high five. It's almost congratulated from the men's standpoint. Whereas if it was a woman, then they're berated about pick your bingo, any topic that's out there. You're not a real woman unless you have kids, or who's going to take care of you when you're older. They don't even seem to care about the men. They'll just die younger anyways. But it seems like, who's going to take care of the woman if you're not a mother? It seems like society just kind of eggs that on further. And might that have something to do with the ability to have children? Whereas physically, men can have children late into their mid 60s, who knows, even 70s into the future. And it seems like women, they've got the biological clock that's ticking, that everyone, which is a myth, by the way, that everyone talks about. And it seems like society wants people to think, well, as a woman, you need to be thinking about this. And if you're a man, oh, you've got time. So
I mean, I know Dr. J looked at census data and found that there's actually, percentage-wise, more childless, that happened to be the way they looked at data, more childless men than women. So it's not like, oh, they're a small group. Like, well, where are they?
I think part of it as well is society, and what we kind of see are societal norms as to the identity that society puts on to people. And this is where the idea of pronatalism comes in as well, where society tries to tie women's identities to having children, and men, it's often society tries to tie their identities to their career. And so I know Matt had mentioned at one point that when men talk to each other, what they'll often, the second question after what's your name is, what do you do? And it's because so much of men's identities are tied up in what they do. Whereas women, when they talk to each other, the second question that they ask each other is not about work, it's, do you have kids? And so there's these kind of traditional gender roles and societal pressures on each gender. But for men, it has nothing to do with being a father. So there's no liberation, if you will, from that. Whereas for women, there's more of this idea of, I'm shucking off the identity that the world has tried to place on me. And so I've broken free of those shackles. And there's more of a reason to maybe celebrate that and to bring attention to it because that is so heavily pressured. So maybe that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah, and if you buck the norm as a woman in society, you're a crazy cat lady, spinster, something wrong with you. But if you're a man who doesn't have kids, well, you're just a bachelor, play in the field, James Bond life, jet setting. It's a stereotype that society wants to put on each gender, and it is unfair.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So it's just the patriarchy problem.
It's the patriarchy. Down with the patriarchy. Society's imposing the ideas on us. But yeah, I definitely think that men have the easy road on parenthood in general. So I don't feel, because they don't have that implied identity of having kids, they don't feel as if they identify with someone who has not had kids, because it doesn't particularly matter. Do you either of you think that there are a lot of women in our community, and all of us, for example, that we've decided actively we don't want to have kids? Do you think there are a lot of men who actively decide that they want to be child-free, or they just don't really care either way, whatever happens? Do you think they have a particular motive?
It sounds like for a lot of men, they almost back into it. Like they don't have kids. And then if they happen to meet a woman who doesn't want children, the light bulb goes off and it's like, hey, yeah, I don't have to have kids. And then they're like, yeah, I'm child-free. But then, of course, you hear, whether it's on Facebook groups or Reddit, social media, where it could be a boyfriend-girlfriend, long-term relationship, a marriage even, and all of a sudden the man changes his mind and he wants to have his lineage and his progeny, and feels that societal pressure to have a child. And so then, again, that's why it's important to have that conversation early in a relationship. But yeah, it's an interesting way that men are almost allowed to be fence sitters longer than women.
So we need like a fence sitters podcast would be where the men would hang out.
I don't know.
So.
I just like in the child-free groups that we already have, they're the silent minority. Like they don't say anything. They're whether they make up in most groups 15 at best, maybe 20% if it's a really large male group within it. They're not very vocal. A lot of them just kind of sit back and watch things happen. And they might throw out a thought every now and then. But whenever someone in the group asks a question, says, hey, child-free men, here's a question, like it'll get dozens and dozens and hundreds of answers. The men just kind of show up if they're asked. But for the most part, it seems like the child-free men are there to just be a part, but not necessarily be an active participant.
Well, and I don't know, maybe it's just we need to set up the dating stuff. It was funny. We did the convention and Matt was on there, and the amount of people that request, hey, is he single? Can you connect? I mean, like, it was pretty funny to see that.
Well, Matt,
Yeah,
what's the answer? We need to ask Matt what the answer is to that.
Yeah, we should have Matt on the podcast at some point and see what his deal is. But I think there's definitely that as well, where not that many men are vocal, you do often hear a lot of us child-free women kind of maybe complain, but I don't know if that's the right word, but mention that dating is particularly difficult because so many more women hold themselves out and identify as child-free, where men don't particularly care. And if you have anyone who's pretty vocal one way or the other, it's mostly that men want to protect their bloodline or something like that. Whereas the ones who don't have a strong preference don't go around saying that they're child-free or don't particularly care if they have kids. So I think dating's quite difficult for women in this arena as well.
Yeah, and one thing that might even be a part of it, why the men may not be so vocal, is and I've seen this happen a number of times in some Facebook groups where there'll be a meme that'll pop up, and it almost depends on who makes the post. If it's a woman making the post, and it's like making fun of, whatever parenting lifestyle or kids or child-free lifestyle, whatever it might be, it seems to get more approval. But if a man posts the same meme in the same group or even a different group, it's not welcomed as warmly. You see a lot more this is misogynistic comments, and they really just kind of attack the poster, even though it was the same thing that was posted that they've seen in other groups. And so I wonder if that might have a reason why the men aren't as vocal, and even why some of them might not even stay. They might come into these groups and then say, well, hey, this doesn't seem like it's friendly for child-free men in here, and they just leave. And I don't know.
I mean, and there are some groups that are just women only, and that makes sense. I mean, we need our own space to do our own thing.
Of course.
But I mean, does that mean like all the men are like, okay, I'm going to go like, I don't know, in the sports groups or something? I mean, it just, because child-free is just not part of their identity.
Well, there are child-free men groups on Facebook, and like proportionately to the groups that are just for women, they're disproportionately smaller by but a factor of thousands. Like they're way smaller than and why is that? And it seems like the guys that are in those groups are in a lot of the groups, and so they maybe migrated to that one. But yeah, it's an interesting topic of how to get, not just where are the men, but it's like, well, what do they want to talk about? What's a topic of interest for child-free men?
But all right, Kristen, going back to a point you had earlier, do you think that men should have as much of a voice, given the fact that women have more of the responsibility and the pressure from society to be childbearing and mothers and all that? Do you feel like maybe some pushback from women is warranted in the groups? We can, maybe how hostile it is can be discussed at a later time, but do you feel that voices should be louder for women in this demographic?
Women definitely carry the brunt of society's wrath on the child-free lifestyle. And in that regard, I would say yes, but to silence one voice is to silence all voices. So if someone's not able to voice their opinion, we should want to also hear what these child-free men say. That's why we're here today, is to find out, what kind of topics of interest do they have? Where are they? Why aren't they vocal? Do they feel a need to even be vocal? Is, child-free just something that they're just doing? And if they don't have kids, they don't care because they don't get the societal pressure that women do.
Right. Well, I think and then your last question that you just asked, Kristen, maybe we're speculating here because we don't have the same perspective as child-free women, but for child-free men, to your point, what do they want to talk about? What would bring that up? Because a lot of the same scrutiny doesn't fall on them. What do they get from being in the child-free community? What kind of things do they benefit from?
Probably the social aspect of anything. Sometimes in the groups, you'll see, that the whole child-free dating topic always comes up, but for men and women, but for men as well, that might be why they're in there. They're looking for a child-free partner or a friend or whatever it might be. And so they're in there for a social aspect, whereas the women are in there for more of the familial aspect, to have kind of the society, the sisterhood of being child-free, whereas the men seem like they might just be in there to either learn more about it, to be a part of the community, or to potentially find a child-free partner.
So I'm wondering though, going back to like this question that the men are in the anti-natalist groups more, like, is that a control thing again? Like, controlling our bodies because, they're anti-natalist saying you can't have children versus they choose it for them, child free or not themselves. I mean, I don't know. It just seems weird.
Well, it's almost like a 90 to nothing, where child-free men is like the the speed limit of not having kids and kind of going against pronatalism, and then and not speaking for the antinatalist community, but it seems like the antinatalist community is just putting the floor on the gas and saying, not only do I not want to have kids, but you need to think yourself about not having kids as well, and you shouldn't have kids for reasons A, B, C, D. This is why I don't have kids. And that might be a little bit more attractive to the male demographic, to be able to, if they're going to say something, they're going to say a lot, and it's going to be unfiltered, and it might be a situation where they're able to have more of a fraternal type feel with other guys that are there, and just kind of speaking their minds without hearing necessarily, like in some of the Facebook groups, like I mentioned before with the memes, where it's like, well, that's a misogynistic viewpoint. If, again, you don't want to be in an echo chamber or a think tank where everybody's thinking the same thing. You should always be challenged. But I feel like maybe in the antinatalism movement, that's why it's more attractive to the child-free men to be more vocal and more active in that.
So is it like that we're shutting them down?
I don't know. We'll have to ask one.
We're coming up with a lot of questions for some child-free men. If only there were more child-free men out there to answer these questions, then we might get there.
Maybe what we do is we like bring Cody and Jared on, because they run big Facebook groups, and ask them kind of like, why did they start a Facebook group? Because I think I can't think of any other that like run by men. Jared's pretty, like, Jared posts like every day. I swear he's like always on Facebook, but he's posting about cats and cartoons, not about so I don't know. And Cody posts about fire and financial stuff, which I know, Kristen, you don't love talking about that. I'll put you to sleep, but so we won't talk about that. But I mean, like, maybe there's a reason why they started those groups. I mean, I don't know.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah. So what do is there anything that child-free women can do? Do we even want there to be more child-free men, first of all, to be loud in the movement? And if we do, what can we do to start getting them to participate more and get more involved?
Well, the population of the child-free lifestyle, there are millions of us. It's not like just in general. Dr. J has said some statistics before, Lenore. You might be able to recall some of them, just on the demographics of the breakdown of child-free. And the men are out there, and it's just a matter of not making them be more vocal. It's like, well, why don't they want to be more vocal, I guess, is the deeper question to ponder. And then that would probably be the easiest way to engage with child-free men. It's like, well, what topics of interest do you have? What questions do you have? What part in the child-free lifestyle do you enjoy, like to talk about, and kind of go from there. But it may be like, just looking at the statistics, they may all identify as kind of the step beyond child-free and going antinatalist. And it's not like all child-free men are antinatalists, but it seems like that's where the men who are mostly child-free are. And it's kind of a cycle there, and maybe diving in more into the antinatalist world and seeing what it is that's so attractive to be in that realm versus the child-free realm. Even as a child-free antinatalist person, they would be welcomed in the child-free world because they're child-free. So why aren't they as active? Like, like I mentioned before, is it more that child-free is like, just not up to speed as antinatalists? They like to go, full throttle into it. Who knows?
Well, I think part of it's we're in our own echo chamber. I mean, the stat was 1 in 5 Americans we think are child-free. There was a study out of Michigan that found that. So 20% of the US. So that's 60 million people. And even the big Facebook groups, there's 20,000 people. So like, that's nothing. Like, seriously, that's nobody. And I'm wondering though, Kristen, based on what you just said, maybe we need a different term. And I hate fighting about the terms, but maybe there's like a term for like, just don't care if you have kids or not. That's different from child free, where you're like, yep, decided, yep. But like, maybe just more of the men are like, nah.
That's the official term now. I think that's the official.
We'll be meh.
They're
like, hey,
men.
Are you meh? Like, yeah.
Men.
I mean, it's not even fence sitting. It's just kind of like, whatever. Don't even think about it.
That would probably be more in line with the way a man would think, is to.
Yeah, I think that's early on why I mentioned the idea of parental agnosticism for a lot of men, where that's one of the decisions that I think a lot of men though some think about it and maybe think if they do want to have kids, how many it's almost how many more are they willing to have than how many do they want, and they almost leave it to women to decide maybe in relationships, as more of a sure, yeah, we can have kids if you want or whatever. I don't think they're really too strongly opinionated one way or another, and maybe it's because again they don't have the expectation of a big placed upon them. They don't really ever look into what it takes, and then afterwards when they realize, oh, this is what it's like being a parent. Interesting discussion. I guess we're gonna have to do a part 2 and bring on, yeah, Cody and Jared, maybe Dr. J and Matt, and get some of the voices out there, and ask them straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Well, they probably not the ones that are meh. So like, I'm not even sure we could find those.
I suppose that's true. They've stated their opinions.
I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think you're onto something though, because it's just like, there's a different world. As social media like brings people together or pulls them apart anyway. So like the men are like, meh, the algorithm doesn't bring them to the child-free groups.
Well, just looking at moving the decimal point. So if you have millions of people that are child-free, and if the largest group in Facebook is 30,000 versus a million, even the largest group that we know of, which is Child-Free Reddit, which is debatable if all of the people in there are child-free, but it's, over a million people in there. So where is everybody else? And that's accounting for both men and women. And so maybe it just breaks down to the desire to have a conversation about not being alone. Do child-free men just not feel as alone or question, being child-free as much as the women do?
Well, I don't know. I look at the data. You look at childless, there's actually a category, childless not by choice because of spouse. I would see very few men in that group, and it's just kind of the nature of the group, and that's okay. And I think the hard part is choice, not whatever. It's not even on their brains, because like, they could have the kid and then just disappear and never do anything for it. I mean, that's part of the problem.
And that's thanks to society. Society gives men a pass on, a guy. It's almost like a crown on their head that they have, multiple kids by multiple women. Like there's no backlash. But if the woman has multiple kids by multiple men, total backlash.
Well, you look at Nick Cannon. I mean, what's he on now? Like 15 or 16. I mean, and, from all different women, he's driving me crazy. Like all of us child-free are being offset just by him. I mean, it's just kind of part of accepted into society.
Very, very different standards for different for men and women in this space. So maybe again, I think that might be the root of it. But I don't know. It seems like we've had this conversation. We've gone around and had a sense of it, but we might have to have part 2. But this kind of seems a little like deja vu, maybe like we have had this conversation before a little bit.
It's possible.
Lenore, you've been a little quiet this time. Are you feeling all right?
I don't even know where I am at this point. I mean, we've been all over the place. I'm kind of feeling meh.
Just meh about the whole thing.
That'll be my next book. Meh.
There you go. Perfect.
Later that same day.
Just like, I had this really weird dream. Like, it's just kind of thrown me for a loop. But first of all, I had no hair. And I mean, that's okay. Because actually, like, this underneath the wig, I actually have a lot of hair, and it gets really hot in the summertime, and I'm always sweating. So that was okay. But the weird thing is I could actually like do up my shirt, which I have not been able to do since I was 8. So that was also very, very strange.
That is a wild dream.
Yeah, like that's how I knew that I was dreaming. I was like, hey, this is weird. But I don't know, like I had this crazy amount of data that I kept spitting out everywhere, but apparently it was useful. Like it wasn't my normal celebrity shit that I just seem to, randomly tell you guys. So it was actually useful. And that was the other thing that was weird, is that I had the number of children Nick Cannon has incorrect, which I know that stuff. Mind you, it does change every single week, the amount of kids he has. But, like, I don't know. It was just really strange. So I'm feeling, I don't know. I think it was a guy. I don't know, in this dream. It was just really strange.
That's weird. That's weird that you say that you were a guy, because I had this dream. I didn't just wake up from a nap, because it's impossible for me to nap. But I did have a dream. Like, I looked pretty much exactly the same as I do right now. But I was also wearing a celery shirt, but it was black, and it didn't have any nutrition information on it. So that was weird.
Okay.
So I think you should always have your nutrition information on your shirt.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But yeah. And I was a genius. Like, I do not retain information about stuff like statistics or or like I knew something about Reddit. Like there were numbers of people in Reddit, or like, oh, one thing I do remember, and because I wrote it down after I woke up, it was something about like 80% of women will cop to being child free, and 80% of men might instead cop to being antinatalists. That's something
specific.
It is. And I think I somehow gleaned that information from the universe in my dream.
Okay.
But I don't know why. I don't know.
Do we want to make this an episode? You seem kind of meh about the whole thing.
About my genius?
No, no.
Dreamius. Let's call it dreamius, because it wasn't like,
okay.
I don't think I can take credit for it.
Why not?
Because it was a dream, and so it's like, where does that information even come from?
Oh,
Have you heard the good news about celery?
Well, there's nothing good about celery unless it has cheese whiz on
I
it.
think celery has like negative calories, but I wouldn't know because I don't know facts and like I don't throw numbers. And I actually had a real dream like a really weird dream as well the other day. What am I talking about? I can't English, but I spoke really good English in my dream, like native American, like native USA English, perfect English.
Wait, USA English and perfect English are kind of like, isn't that an oxymoron? Sorry. Okay.
I was wearing a hat. I never wear
That's weird.
baseball hats ever. I was wearing one of those. And I kept asking really profound questions. I don't know who I was asking these questions to, but they were like,
that's not unusual for you though.
Is it though? I don't know. I was just really like trying to reflect on the questions, but I just felt like with this, I mean, it was like my calm energy, but at the same time, it was like a different energy. I don't know if that makes sense.
I kind of feel like you two sound familiar to me. Like, do you think it's possible for people to dream meld? Like, because
like we had the same dream?
Kind of like we met up in the same dream somewhere.
Oh,
because like not like I was in yours or Isabel was in mine or anything like that, but like we all just sort of gathered together in a dream. Because you're not having hair sounds familiar.
Well, the baseball hat, I saw 2 baseball hats. I was kind of confused, but yeah, no, that would make sense. Were you wearing a hat in your dream?
Me?
Yeah.
No, like I said, I look just like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do remember something about a black celery t-shirt. Like I do something familiar about black t-shirt and
a black celery t-shirt.
Celery, right? It said did it say celery in your dream or?
I don't remember.
Something with a C. It started with a C, that's for sure.
Weird. Wonder what could have been. I'm trying to think.
Have you ever worn a bald cap, Lenora? Because I think no.
A bald cap or bald cap?
Now that's an alternative for a wig.
Bald cap. Exactly.
I have neither worn a bald cap or a bald cap. Which one you're saying? I have neither, but I don't know. I think I do remember a lot of like facial hair, if that makes sense in this dream. There was like a lot of it. Like, you know, I have PCOS, but like there's just a lot of facial hair.
The shirt said child free.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Child free, celery, similar, whatever.
And that would explain why there wasn't any nutrition information. Because I like this, you know, I mean, we don't really know how many calories are in a child. You have to like, what age is the child that we're counting calories for, and like how much calcium and
fat
sodium is in it. We don't know.
Yeah,
and that would be just
content.
That'd be a shirt to have though.
God, what a weird dream. Can you imagine? I don't know. I just can't imagine spouting off that much data all the time just for whatever reason. I don't even remember what we're talking about. Like I said, I kind of feel meh about the whole thing. So
I feel like a smarter person. I feel like I was smart. So I'm just gonna.
That's good.
I'm gonna hold on to it.
All right. Well, what do you guys want to talk about today in our episode?
Salary.
Oh. Do you want to talk about guys? Being a child-free guy, maybe? Do you think that's a topic worth discussing? I mean, not like, us being child-free men.
Oh,
but,
I was gonna say, like, I don't want to be a child-free guy.
Where are all the child-free men anyway?
Yeah,
Where are they?
I wouldn't mind being a child-free guy if it means I have more options for clothing, like that does up. That would be nice. But other than that, whatever. But yeah, you're right. Where are all the child-free guys? We should go look for some and maybe interview them at some point on the show.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kristen?
I mean, if they're not like some weird mythical creature.
Okay. Yeah. I'm all for mythical creatures myself, but hey, whatever.
Like a man horse. But the Pegasus, or what's that called?
Oh, you said man
No.
horse. I thought you said
Yeah,
something.
but she
Did you think I
meant
said man whore?
Maybe.
My
I think
goodness.
she meant what are they called? This half man, half horse.
Oh,
Uh
But that's what I meant. Is it Pegasus or something?
no,
no, there's
Pegasus
an
are
actual name
horses
for
with
it.
wings.
I want to say it's a
Oh.
centurion, but that sounds wrong. Is it a
Yeah,
centurion?
no,
Half man, half
centurion.
horse.
Yes, centurion.
And we know which half we want to be the horse, don't we, ladies? No, I'm just kidding. Centaur.
Centaur. Oh,
Centaur.
okay. What's a centurion?
Centurion.
Oh, that's
And-
someone who's 100 years old, isn't it?
No,
No.
I think it was like a military range back
Yeah.
in the
See, I guess this is why it's good to know things, so we don't have to Google. We just have like random data in our head
Yeah.
we can just spit out. Like that makes more sense.
That sounds really familiar.
It
Oh, a
does, doesn't it?
centurion is pertaining to or reminiscent of a centaur. Now I need to look at how to.
Oh, so I
See,
wasn't
I
that
really
far
liked
off.
it in my dream when I was smart. Like now I can't even pronounce this very
That's
simple
true.
word.
I could just recall stuff. It was really nice. Like just percentages. I never think about percentages. Like that's again handy information to have. All right. Well, I don't know. I think maybe we have to record another time because I'm kind of feeling like Twilight Zone-ish right now. I don't know where I am. I'm also kind of like wigging out, pardon the pun, but I'm just,
We're
Anyway.
both
No, you know what? I think I'll leave that fantasy alone. I'll keep my hair. The stuff that's under my wig and all the wigs. But I like your hair today, Kristen.
Thank you.
And Isabel looks normal, so you don't seem too affected. And you're, do you want to keep Englishing? Maybe it'll get better.
I can't English properly. I could in my dream. I could English properly.
Well, hey, maybe dreams come true, whatever that means. All right. Well, this has been a fun episode.
Eat your celery.
Ugh, do I have to?
It's so good for you. It has antioxidants. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It's very good for you.
Again, meh, whatever.
But you dip it in stuff.
Celery is such a meh vegetable. I don't know why I keep saying meh.
It's a
Chris-
vessel for goodness, like peanut butter and hummus and cream cheese and
Oh,
ranch
peanut
dressing or
butter.
Italian dressing.
Oh my God, I'm hungry now.
Mm.
All right.
This used to be a delicacy in the Victorian era. They had it at Thanksgiving in a little vase.
Sorry, you said man horse and you're waving at I think I need to go.
Yeah.
I'm a little overtired.
Maybe we should all just go back to sleep.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll try this again some other time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Chat with you girls later.
Bye.
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 Don't forget to tune in a couple of weeks for our newest episode.
Bye.
Bye.